Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. I'm still a little bit under the weather, so excuse my voice, but I thought I'd get this video together anyway, because I do have the energy to do that, and it will be useful for you going into the week. So in this video, we're going to break down Euro USD and GBP USD. These are the only two pairs that I'm primarily watching in the week ahead. I also had a glance over Euro GBP, AUD USD, and GBP JPY, but the opportunities they're presenting aren't the most exciting, and considering I have a bunch of work to do on the course, and I'm not feeling 100% still, I'm probably not going to be branching out too much this week, and I will just stick to Euro and Pound. So starting off with Euro USD, we can see that this has traded into this nice weekly demand area where we've started to see some good rejections. The three candles here have all closed bullish. They are actually kind of spinning top or doji formations with large wicks either way. That does show uncertainty, but because we are in a demand area and we are actually looking like we're pushing to the upside, I see this as a nice confirmation that the bearish momentum has come to a close. So this is actually a refined 1 hour demand, by the way, that price just traded into very nicely. If we shoot straight down to the hourly time frame, you'll see we had that very good retest in there at this point, and from there we actually pushed up and started to form these higher highs and higher lows. So if you remember, for a couple of weeks we've been looking at this demand area to actually buy Euro USD. Now, we saw price come very close to the level. It missed it by about a pip and then actually shot off with no confirmation entry. So we missed that initial buy, or at least I did. But what we've actually seen now is a shift on this lower time frame momentum from lower lows and lower highs into a higher high here and into what looks like it could be a higher low. Now, the issue I'm seeing with what we have is it's very nearly an equal low. We have pushed a little bit lower. That may have just swept out the liquidity under this level, but we do have an imbalance down into this demand area. And we do also have to consider that this was missed by a pip. So we could still see price come down towards this area. So these two ideas are definitely in mind. Now, what you can see I also have drawn on here as well is after this higher high, we came down from this lower low, lower high, lower low in this substructure, but we've now broken back to the upside. So this break to the upside could actually lead us into some bullish momentum from where we are now. And for this, I'm quite interested in this demand zone I have marked on, which I believe is a 10-minute or 5-minute demand zone, 5-minute, sitting at the bottom of this imbalance price area. This also sits very nicely within this 15-minute demand area, which tops out here. And I think if we look at the 30-minute and so on, we also see that same zone. So the price before that is efficient. As you can see, we came traded into this demand area and then retested and moved to the upside. So for my ideas for this pair, I will indeed be looking at these three primary areas. For every one of these trades, I will be looking for a confirmation entry. The reason being we have multiple zones of interest. So I don't want to use a buy limit. If we are going to use a buy limit, I would go for this zone here because we are obviously looking at the extreme at this point. And if we do come into there, if we break any lower, that will invalidate the setup for now. So if we are going to use orders, the orders should go in that extreme area around 1.1223, all right? Somewhere around there. But in terms of this area, and if you want to be the safest in this area, I would look for confirmation entries, which is going to mean we need to see lower low, lower high, lower low, and then a break to higher highs. And then we can look to buy in from demand at that higher low and actually take the market up from there. In terms of targets on Euro USD, I am quite interested in seeing some of these higher imbalances filled. If we can get our buys on, I think we should come and clear out these highs, trade through this imbalance, first of all into this area here. We are then very likely to actually push further because we have a very clear imbalance into this area. So we could easily come through into this point. And that will be really it for me on Euro right now. Now, if we go to high time frames, you'll see that it is possible we can go higher. We do have imbalance into this point. We have imbalance into this point. And there's actually nothing stopping us really from pushing over these highs and making new highs if we've now fulfilled this demand area. But it's clear to see from this point, we do have these lower lows and lower highs, and we have some open imbalance and a larger demand area down here. So I think if we go modest with the targets and we just look towards these clear 4-hour imbalance zones, this area here around 1.1440 and this area here around 1.15750, then we should be able to get, clear runs up before the market makes any form of reversal. So these are the two primary targets for me on Euro USD. And from there, if we do shift to the downside, I will be happy. I would have taken my profit on quite a large profitable movement. And from there, we can begin seeing if the market is ready to shift down. And if we do break through some highs, we can go and refocus for larger buys. So that is Euro USD. The other pair I am looking at is GBP USD, which is also at a nice turning point and could provide us with some very nice opportunities. So going to the daily chart, you can see here that price has reacted into this demand area. Now on the daily chart, you'll see that this is a barely noticeable zone. But if we drop over to the hourly time frame here, you can see that we have a very clearly imbalanced demand region that price has just traded into. So looking at the current retest, we have seen the midpoint retested very nicely there with this push down. And after that midpoint retest, we had a lower high, higher low, and then another lower high, but then we had a higher low once again. So we're shifting here from low point to higher low to higher low. And then we've had a breakout above this high, this high, this high, and now this high. Now this is the one that really interests me because this is the structure point before the low. So now that we've broken that, it shows us that we are actually going for a meaningful push away. Now, if we could push this zone, that would give me even more confidence, but I am actually happy to look towards executing trades from where we are right now. So this trade has less zones to work with than the Euro setup, which is kind of easier because it means we have a clear place to buy. The opportunities I'm seeing here on GBP USD is, first of all, you can see we have this hourly demand region as marked out by this grey large candle here. So this is an area of demand. If we drop to the lower time frames, I believe around the 10 or 5 minute is where I marked on the zone. Yeah, we can see there on the 10 minute, this blue candle here in the middle, just accounting for the low of this grey candle as well, is that kind of demand area that I'm interested in seeing price come into. So if price can pull into this point and then give us some bullish structure confirmation, I will be looking to take GU higher from there. Now, the alternative scenario is going to be, as I mentioned, we do have a small consolidation happening here, and we may be looking to actually take out this high. If we do manage to push this high from the current area we're in, we may form a demand area around here, which will be the zone that broke structure. So if we then push this level and go into this efficient area, we could then look for a pullback in. And if we get a pullback in, we could be looking at this zone here, whichever zone it is that forms the break, to actually take higher. So GU, while I am looking at this area primarily, and this is my favorite area to trade from, if I was using orders, I'd be focusing on this area, and I'm focusing on this area anyway with confirmations. But if we do then form this demand that we're forming now and get a push over this high, we could definitely look to use this area as a buying point when price pulls back into it. Where would I be looking at targeting for GBP USD? Well, we have a few clearly imbalanced areas. The biggest one, the easiest one, the most instant one to note is this area just here, where we have this blue candle at the top of this large bearish push with a very open imbalance left into that region. So if we are going to be looking to buy GBP USD, well, I think it's going to easily clear the efficient pricing here, but it will probably stall out once we hit this imbalanced price region. So we can look for the buys either from this point or from this point. And when we get those on, we can look to run those into this price level. And from here, I'll be looking at taking most of my profits. Now, this is the 4-hour time frame. So you have to believe that this is already from this area around 150 pips. And from the low point, probably easing on 200 pips there. Yeah. So by this point, I will actually be looking to take most of my profits. Now, if we look at GBP USD on the daily time frame, I was expecting this one to come a little bit lower towards some of this demand area. So I don't want to be holding this one for too long on an intra-week basis. This is a good zone for me. And then if we sell off and come down towards that price area, that is all good. Alternatively, if we do break the high and we break through this structure point, then we open the doors to some higher levels and we can look for rebuys. But that is going to be in future weeks to come. So these are the two pairs that I'm looking at. These are the two setups I'm looking at for the week ahead. GBP USD and Euro USD, and we have some very clear buying opportunities on these. Now, what invalidates these trades? Well, if we break under the lows, this low here, and on GBP USD, then I will actually be looking at potentially shifting these short. But the way it's looking right now, we do look like we are starting to break to the upside after retesting some high interest areas. So I do think that GU and EU could pull through with some nice buys over the coming week or over the rest of the year. That is all for now, GBP USD and Euro USD. I hope you've enjoyed this analysis. I hope you've learned a thing or two, and I will see you over in the server.